Hello and welcome everybody to this XTB live news. My name is Walid Koudmani, market analyst for XTB. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the main events happening in the markets in this first part of today's session, Monday, the 14th of June, 2021, what we can expect from the second part, moving into the second part of the week as well, and what we can keep an eye on the charts with some major moves and some key levels as well. So let's start with a recap of what happened roughly over the weekend in the first part of today's session. Not much from an economic calendar point of view today, so not many macro events, but a lot of moves as I'm going to touch on when we go to the charts. Over the weekend, we had some moves on cryptos, along with an Elon Musk tweet, again, moving markets on that end. So we saw Bitcoin move up again to around 40,000 currently around that area. We also saw the continuation of the G7 meetings, which I mentioned on Friday, so that was worth keeping an eye on, and some extra news with some meetings due to take place. Furthermore, if you're in the WhatsApp group, you've seen the notifications we've sent on several moves as well. DAX today reaching a new all-time high, as I'm going to show you, before pulling back slightly after a positive Asian session. So let's start with the economic calendar, and let's just quickly go over it. We had a Bank of England speech from the Bank of England governor today. Not much on that way, but we are awaiting the Fed this week, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. And we had the Euro area, so Eurozone industrial production and Canadian manufacturing sales. So not much on that end, but let's take a look at the charts, because on the charts we actually do have some interesting moves. Starting with the DAX, as I mentioned, new all-time high reached today very briefly. So you can see this area, which was acting as a resistance in the past, or a price reaction area, and you saw it get tested once again here before a breakout and then a pullback around now, trading once again 15,700. As I said, if you're in the WhatsApp group, you'll have seen the notification that I sent on this in particular. And this is very interesting because, as you can see, we saw almost the opposite here. So we saw an upward move and then a pullback and then another upward move with further consolidation, but we did reach an all-time high again. So the DAX has had this story almost, as you can see, repeat. Most recently, we saw an all-time high and then a pullback and then a lower high actually, and then another all-time high. And so at the moment, we're actually seeing not another low, but a further high. That's going to be interesting to keep an eye on, especially moving into the US session, which is starting quite mixed, as I'm going to show you in a second. This is the S&P. S&P on the 4-hour, so US 500 on the 4-hour chart. If we break it down a little bit further, you'll see still positive, still uptrend, still new all-time highs, but at the moment not able to reach one yet today. So we can see actually starting quite negative, but still in this very high range, and you can see the direction is generally upwards for the moment. The US 100, which is managed to reach its all-time high once again, just barely, actually missed it. But once after that, starting today's session, very mixed, dropping all the way down to the 50 SMA, testing it, and currently trading around 14,000 points, just hovering once again after or just below the all-time high, which it took, as we've mentioned in the other videos, it took quite longer than the S&P, so the S500 for the US 100 to reach that. And we mentioned several, I mentioned several reasons for that and several things that can play into it. Obviously, the tech stocks are more susceptible to certain types of regulation that has been discussed more, certain taxes and certain other things that have been discussed more recently. Plus, they did benefit a lot from the beginning of the pandemic, especially with all the businesses and such moving online. So all those businesses benefited greatly. And the more we return to normalcy, even though not complete, the more traditional businesses are benefiting, and maybe tech sectors are not struggling, but not keeping up as much. When it comes to commodities, very interesting move today, right now, as we speak, on gold. So gold, you can see this very sharp but very direct downward move from around $1,900. So after testing it for the third time, as we mentioned, was unable to break through this area and started a pullback, which dropped it all the way 3% to 1845. Take a look, previous support here. And then now we're seeing a rebound almost covering about 8 candles in one candle. So recovering right now at the moment about over 1.2%, trading at 1865. You can see previous price reaction area, very close. Very interesting moves on gold. I'm going to show you what's happening as well with the dollar, which I like to correlate, or I'd like at least to show what potential correlation there might be. Oil, on the other hand, oil and oil WTI, continuing with the positive days. You can see oil, Brent, trading at 73.45. We have also WTI trading further higher, with Brent still hovering above the Ichimoku cloud on the H1 time frame, 73, at the highest level in several years, as I mentioned as well. While WTI, this is the daily, you can see all the green candles. So we have, out of 16 candles, 3 red and 13 green. Obviously today we have to wait and see the close, but you can see just over these candles, over 17% of an increase. Actually, yeah, 16.5, 16.7% of an increase. Trading currently at 71.73. Let's go back and see the highest level since 2018, basically. When it comes to, I'll briefly touch on Bitcoin. Bitcoin breaking above 40,000 once again. You can see struggling to break above it since the end of May, and actually dropping quite low, and then now reaching once again above $40,000. If it comes to the other currencies, let's take a look at the market analysis section on the platform. You can see Euro, USD, positive currencies, even the pound, New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, all kinds of dollars are positive today. The yen is actually quite negative. Some emerging market currencies are more negative. The mixed performance from the dollar compared to the euro, but let's take a look at the pairs and see what's happening on that end. So we have pound USD still hovering in the area which we mentioned last week, up and down, still in this range, dropping below it once again briefly, but returning to the 141 range. You can see it has been trading in this range up and down, even though it seems to be narrowing at the moment. You can see the moves seemed a little bit larger at the beginning, but still stuck in that range. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, especially with the Fed coming up this week further up. When it comes to instead Euro USD with the US dollar, you can see performance is quite muted today. Mixed performance from both. They're both positive in a sense, and neither is really outperforming the other. So you can see the US dollar index, as I'd like to show the overlay, and moving sideways, slightly downward, while the Euro USD is sideways and slightly upward, trading at 121, not quite at 122 where it was last week and towards the end of May, but still hovering above this support that it tested a few times. And so that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this video was useful. I'd like to give a bit of an overview of the markets. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you very much. Good luck with your trading. My name is Walid Koudmani.